Thank you everyone for attending the 2020 YPN City Planners Panel. We have held this event for many years, and we're glad to the tradition of having the city planners and development directors from the desert cities on hand to talk about what's happening in their cities. My name is Amy Arbid, and I am the YPN chair for 2021, and I will be your moderator for today's meeting. Today, 7 desert cities will be represented to talk about the various developments, construction, and upcoming plans for their cities. The panelists will each speak, and then there will be time for following for a Q&A after their presentations. If you have any questions, please make sure to enter them into the chat below, and we're going to answer them during the Q&A session. So now let's get started with the 2020 City Planners Panel. Up first is Louis Lopez, the Development Services Director with the City of Coachella. Welcome, Louis.
Thank you, and good afternoon, everybody. This year, we were given a format to talk about 3 specific things: any new housing developments, major commercial developments like casinos, wave pool, or stadiums, and then short-term rental updates or new restrictions. So I will start with number 1, any new housing developments. The newest housing development we have in Coachella is Valencia by Pulte Group Homes. That is a community that was started in the early 2000s and then was distressed after the big recession. There are 50 home sites on that subdivision located at the southeast corner of Avenue 50 and Van Buren Street. The developer sold the first phase during the grand opening weekend. There were 11 homes that were sold in one weekend. So far, they've sold 15, and they have another 5 that are in negotiations. The other community that I mentioned last year is Vista Escondida by D.R. Horton. They're calling this product Escondida Point, and it's 217 home sites. They are already 50% sold, and their original projection was to build out the community in about 3 to 4 years, so they've basically done that in half the time. They think they'll be sold out by the end of next year. So with that, these 2 national home builders are looking for other land in the immediate area to continue with the same home product or something in that price range. Escondida Point obviously is a little more affordable because they're small home sites, about 4,000 square foot lots. It's a planned unit development with a large community park. But we've been in negotiations with both of these developers because the city is actually selling a 155 lot subdivision at the southeast corner of Calhoun and Avenue 50. It's the La Colonia 2 subdivision. The city acquired it many years ago through a tax sale and a bankruptcy hearing. So that will be probably the next development that continues with new home sites, single family homes. Additionally, there is about a 38 lot final map that's being processed for Bellissima. Bellissima is very similar to Valencia. It started in the early 2000s and then became a distressed project. That project is located at the southeast corner of Frederick Street and Avenue 53. So all of these projects are market rate single family homes that are being sold in Coachella or in negotiations to be sold to a builder. We also have a multifamily development of affordable housing in the downtown, the Pueblo Viejo Villas. This is a mixed-use project right at the corner of 6th and Cesar Chavez, which is the old Harrison Street. It will have 3,000 square feet of commercial on the ground floor, and then 2 levels above with 105 family apartments. There's also a Sunline Transit hub as part of that development, and it was part of the the city's Affordable Housing Sustainable Communities grant that we were awarded, about a $15 million grant. And they have just closed escrow on the property and have paid us for the building permit. So they're going to start very soon on that. There is also a multifamily project that I mentioned last year, the Coachella Village, which is at the southwest corner of Avenue 48 and Van Buren. The developer has gotten the approved plans, but he, because of his financing, has wanted to phase it into 3 different phases. Originally it was 2 phases, now it's 3 phases. But that is also a market rate multifamily development. Just so you know, the city of Coachella does not have any major multifamily apartments that are market rate. We're basically subsidized affordable housing on the big apartment homes in the city. So that concludes the housing developments presentation. Moving on to major commercial developments, the city council approved a project called the Coachella Vineyard Estates last year. And that development is, if you're familiar with Dillon Road north of the freeway, there's an RV subdivision up there called the Vineyards. And there was approximately 60 acres that was left unfinished. And the project includes an RV subdivision and a 11-story hotel, 200 rooms, with the possibility of bringing a card club casino into that hotel. And there's also, I believe it was 25 townhouse units. That developer has recently come back to the city and he had started grading the project, and then he ran into a financing issue, but he's back. He's really excited about the hotel and is talking to some state lobbyists about bringing the card club casino because the city of Coachella has an ordinance that was adopted before the state regulations prohibited gambling or card clubs, so that any card club that's existing in the state of California can actually be transferred to Coachella. And that unique aspect of the hotel is important to the developer to attract a hotel flag, which is what he's waiting for. The hotel itself would be at the northeast corner of Tyler Street and Vista del Norte, which is the frontage road on the north side of the freeway there. The other project I mentioned last year was the Glenroy Resort Hotel. As most people know, that development was put on hold last year, and the developer is finishing up a lawsuit. So he's been in negotiations to refinance the project. The city entered into a memorandum of understanding with the developer, whereby he's been paying the city the lost TOT, the transient occupancy tax, and he has milestones where he has to refinance and get the project up and going and construction started again. So we're all very hopeful that hotel will finally be built in the near future. The third project you may have heard about in the newspaper is the Chandi 20-acre mixed-use development. This is vacant land at the southwest corner of Avenue 50 and Van Buren. The preliminary negotiations with that project are mixed-use development, which would include some multifamily, retail, commercial, including a service station, restaurant pads, and a cannabis dispensary. All of those things are being in negotiations. It also includes a hotel. So those are the major commercial developments. But I did want to say that we are seeing a lot of infill commercial projects. For example, we just approved a small service station, 7-Eleven service station with a drive-through Starbucks at Cesar Chavez and First Street. There's also an office building, medical office building, at the northwest corner of Calhoun and Avenue 50, which you may have heard about, the Borrego Health Facility. It's about 41,000 square feet. And then a lot of little infill industrial developments, which are really good for the city, because that's something that we lack. We lack good industrial available tenant spaces and office tenant spaces. That's one of the challenges that we have in attracting businesses to the city. Then moving on to short-term rentals, the city of Coachella has 128 registered short-term rentals in the city. We obviously encourage short-term rentals because we don't have a hotel, and we've always wanted to capture that market, especially being close to the Golden Voice concerts. We're in good communications with the neighborhoods about short-term rentals. Recently, the Desert Sun ran an article, and they inquired about how many complaints did you receive during the pandemic on short-term rentals, and they wanted us to compare it to last year. We did receive 9 complaints between March and October on short-term rentals, and when we compared it to the last 2 years, we had 0 complaints. The major complaint has been loud parties at night. So perhaps that's related to the pandemic. We're not sure, because loud parties tend to be kind of a regular complaint in the city of Coachella, especially with the pandemic. A lot of families are staying home and having gatherings with live music and inviting guests, and that's been a bigger challenge than the short-term rentals. So that wraps up my presentation. Be happy to answer any questions later on.
Thank you, Louis. And next we have Louis Rubalcaba. And Louis is the assistant planner with Indian Wells. Welcome, Louis.
Hey everybody, how you doing? I prepared a presentation, so I'm gonna share my screen so everybody can see. Okay. So good afternoon, everybody. As Amy Arbid mentioned, my name is Luis. I'm the assistant planner for the City of Indian Wells. I'm within the Community Development Department. And today I'll be discussing the development within the City of Indian Wells with a focus on housing, notable developments, and short-term rental regulations. I'll begin the presentation with a brief city overview. I'll touch on the city's general plan and housing element update that we're currently going through, and move on to today's topics. So a brief overview, as everybody knows, Indian Wells, in between the cities of La Quinta to the east and Palm Desert to the west. And it's a small city. It's got an established brand of luxury as a luxury community and a visitor destination. So we benefit a lot from the big regional draw of the Indian Wells Tennis Garden. And that's where the real focus on the vacant land is. As you can see, the city's primarily built out. Primarily is residential land use with open space, the open space being a lot of the golf courses and the established Indian Wells Golf Resort. And so, as mentioned before, some of the opportunity sites are to the northeast of the city. This is where the kind of concentration of the vacant parcels are. I'm gonna touch on really is opportunity site 1, 8, 9, and 10. These sites are the ones that have either some development going on within them, some sort of negotiation, or some interest, some real interest that has been garnered with them. So touching on just real fast on the city's comprehensive general plan update, it's also going to be developing a programmatic environmental impact report. And this is just to help further streamline the future development that's foreseen at those opportunity sites we brought through. I showed you in the earlier slide. And it's in hopes that the environmental analysis just boosts how fast we can take them to the entitlement process. So just a FYI, the first community workshop for our general plan update is on the 18th of this month. And here's just a screenshot of the website that we have set up. So moving on to the topics for today's presentation, the city has recently entered into an exclusive negotiating agreement with a boat community to develop a 100-unit affordable housing project on opportunity site number 10. So this is along Highway 111. Right here, it's next to the existing 128-unit affordable housing project, Indian Wells Villas. And we're hoping this project moves forward just so we can meet the 382 housing units that were allocated to the city as part of the state's RENA analysis. So here I wanted to share some of the conceptual renderings. This is just my opinion, but it's kind of a more modern take on the Adobe house style. But I did want to point out this project will not be age restricted, just like the other two projects are existing in the city. So they'll be open to families and it's workforce housing. But that's not to say any senior citizen can go ahead and live there if they so choose to. Another housing and notable development is the Huntley project. So this site is just west of the tennis garden. It's opportunity site number 1, as we call it. It's an 18-unit cluster development with a common area in the middle surrounded by the single-family households. And the project is currently under construction. I do want to share some of the colored renderings. The style of the homes are really kept within the mid-century modern motif, which is kind of, it's familiar with the area. Directly south across from the site, the homes are of the same style. So they kept on that motif and it's really it's actually a very great project for the city. And although it's not being developed, there's been a lot of interest in the opportunity sites 8 and 9. These are the northeast and northwest corners of Highway 111 and Miles. And the city envisions a 121,000 square foot commercial center to the northeast, while the northwest has garnered a lot of attention for a hotel development with a combination of a condominium complex. So this is just a site example of the hotel condo development that is envisioned for the site. These are just kind of villas, a hotel site. There's a condominium aspect to it. So just to help illustrate and show everybody this is kind of an example hotel rendering of how this site could be developed in the future and what the city kind of wants to see along Highway 111. It's a very big opportunity site. That's one of the biggest commercial corridors in the Coachella Valley. So we want to capitalize on that and try to bring in more tax revenue and bring in really more visitors to the city. Lastly, I'll touch on the city's short-term rental policies. And the city is no longer allowing the grandfathered short-term rental permits that were in place prior to this new ordinance. All the grandfather permits were closed out in the beginning of 2020. And at this time, the short-term rentals are limited to a 29-night minimum stay. Homeowners could be excluded from this 29-night minimum stay if the homeowners association chooses to opt out of the ordinance. And the way they can do that is by the HOA and all the owners going through a majority vote. And then, so if the HOA then opts out, all the homes within the homeowners association will be excluded from this 29-night minimum stay. One note, there is 2 weeks out of the year during the Indian Wells tennis tournament that the city kind of doesn't regulate short-term rentals. So it's kind of everybody could stay because it draws a lot of regional attention. So it gives a little bit of relief to the hotels and to the homeowners as well. Some regulation highlights of the short-term rentals is the citation fees. So it's $2,500 for the first offense, $5,000 for each offense after. Property owners can only operate one short-term rental property, and each opted out HOA can regulate their own minimum stays. One note that I did want to make as well is the new residential developments, they can be opted out via approval by the city council. And this is the Huntley development. This was done for them, so they're already an opted out HOA, even though they're still under construction. They're kind of selling the Huntley homes and promoting it, letting them know that, hey, you can actually have short-term rentals unrestricted in this new development. So it's one of the highlights for that development as well. But this concludes my presentation, and please feel free to ask any questions at the Q&A section.
Thank you, Louis.
Oh, you're welcome.
Let me get my timer set. And next we have Kevin Snyder. And Kevin is the Director of Community Development for the City of INDIO. Welcome, Kevin.
Great, thank you. Hi, everyone. I also have a presentation. Just give me 1 second here. And apologies. All right, so again, I'm Kevin Snyder. I'm the Director of Community Development for the City of INDIO. Been with the city for about 2 years, and there's a lot going on in the city of INDIO, just like every other community in the Valley. But what folks may or may not know about INDIO is we are actually celebrating our 90th birthday this year. We were incorporated in 1930. We're the oldest incorporated city in the Valley. We have about 91,000 citizens. And some other fast facts about this, we're averaging about a 1.37 annual growth rate. And we also have a current median household income of about $57,645. So this is just some quick fast facts about the city. Moving on, I'm just gonna hit the short-term rentals very quickly. So we currently have about 850 plus or minus registered short-term rentals, but we have an unknown number of unregistered rentals. That is becoming a major code enforcement issue. Code enforcement is spending a lot of time trying to track these down. We have concerns growing over party houses. We're seeing a lot of party houses pop up in our community. In fact, our city manager has 2 in his neighborhood that just about every weekend there's anywhere from 10 to 50 people showing up at these houses to basically party. In October of this year, our city manager had a conversation with the city council on potential changes to our short-term rental regulations. And the council at that time discussed enhanced code enforcement as well as a better balance of residential concern with short-term rental goals. Short-term rental for us, we actually have an agreement with Airbnb that does bring significant revenue to our city. So the council is sensitive to wanting to be able to maintain that revenue stream, but at the same time, they also want to make sure that residents aren't getting unnecessarily impacted by the growth of the party houses and other attendant effects on people's quality of life. We anticipate there'll be future discussions with council, although those haven't been scheduled yet because right now the city manager is doing some additional homework and looking at other code examples both throughout the Valley as well as throughout Southern California. So probably those conversations will happen quarter of 2021. We actually, the city went through and adopted its general plan update in September 2019. And the plan is a major departure for the city in terms of how it's looked at itself over the years. It really focused on increased density, mixing of uses, promoting more sustainability. We want to maintain our status as a city of festivals, but we also want to look further down the line into health and equity issues. We want to really promote the concept of multimodal so that you don't have to always utilize your vehicle. We want to make sure that our neighborhoods are connected both with each other as well as with our commercial areas. And then we really want to pursue a range of housing options. Like a lot of the desert communities, INDIO has been developed in large part with lower density, single family gated communities. We really want to push, well, we don't want to in any way prohibit those from occurring. We also want to provide opportunities and incentives for more diverse housing in our city. And at the end of the day, we still want to be recognized as the vibrant community for arts and entertainment, education, commerce, and culture. new plans that we're working on, we are updating our zoning code right now to align with that adopted general plan. And our plan right now is to have that done by summer of 2021. We are also beginning to work on a new specific plan for our Highway 111 corridor, and we're actually starting that this month. We're taking a little bit of different tact at that. We are really starting with an economics foundation to what that corridor would look like in the future. We got state funding to do this, and as part of that state funding, we committed to identifying the potential for a minimum of 500 housing units in the corridor. We did not commit to any sort of type. It doesn't necessarily have to be all affordable or all market. It could be some combination thereof. But we really want to take a look at what the Highway 111 corridor and INDIO looks like in the future, both from the housing side, more sustainable commercial, and also the physical characteristics of that corridor. We're currently working on what's called a transformative climate communities plan. This is also, we received a state grant for, and it's really focused on 3 census tracts in our community, our downtown and what we refer to as the Jewel community, which is the area north of Avenue 45 and east of Jackson. These are older areas of our community. They've been established for many years. They have some of the more challenging issues that we need to deal with in terms of housing, infrastructure, transportation, and urban greening. Those are the topical areas for the grant. So we're working right now with representatives from the community and putting that plan together. And we hope to have that plan done by early January of 2021. The plan is really intended to set us up to go after funding. And our friends in Coachella worked on a similar plan. And I know Louis can speak to that in terms of the urban greening grant that they got. And we would hope to be able to be successful like Coachella was in pursuing future funding. Housing will be a big component of that, really looking at how to maintain affordability in these neighborhoods and also improve the housing stock as well as preserve and maintain it. And then finally, we're going to be kicking off our housing element update. And as part of that, we're also going to be looking at what we call pro-housing strategies. We again got a state grant to do that project. And so we'll be looking at not only how we update our housing element, but what strategies, primarily focused on fiscal strategies, the city could pursue either locally or regionally to really encourage housing in our community. And the reason why is that for the 6th cycle regional housing needs allocation, or RHNA, we are expected to have 7,793 units in our city between. That's slightly less. I think Coachella beats us by just about 100 more units, but it represents more than 150% increase in what we were obligated in the last RHNA cycle. And consider that the city of INDIO currently processes anywhere from 250 to 300 residential permits, building permits a year. And it's an audacious number. It's a little bit of a mind-boggling number. And it's going to really require us to look at how we are doing zoning, how we are encouraging housing, what incentives we need to put in place, and what other strategies we might need to do to have any chance of even getting anywhere close to achieving these numbers. There is a significant part of those numbers that are anticipated to be affordable. I've highlighted those. And so we're also going to have to, again, address how we provide for that affordable housing. Right now, the city doesn't have a lot of multifamily housing going on. We do have some proposals in front of us. One is an all affordable project off of Jefferson Street, south of Highway 111. And that project actually got approved last summer. And right now they're working on their financing. We have about 2,755 housing units either planned or under construction. And here's just a list of some of them. What's more interesting for us is, like everyone else in the Valley right now, we are getting inundated with new interest in new projects or projects that would bring projects that have somewhat died previously back to life. For example, we have a project called Montevina that was permitted in 2007, right before the Great Recession. It was 300 units. It has sat fallow. Recently, D.R. Horton and a partner have entered into acquiring those lots, and we are working with them right now to bring those lots forward for some entitlement reviews, and they anticipate breaking ground after the first of the year. Another project, Espano, has been sitting fallow since 2004, and Leonard has purchased 55 lots with an option for the remaining 60. And then D.R. Horton, again, they purchased 80 lots in Shadow Ranch, which is another long-term community, and they're finishing that out. So we're getting a lot of interest in projects that have been around for a long time, but we also have some interest growing in brand new projects that would be taking current vacant land and building them out. One of them could be quite large, over 1,000 units potentially. We are also spending a lot of energy looking at our downtown. We adopted a new downtown specific plan in April of this year, and it's really looking at how to revitalize our downtown with housing, retail, and restaurants, and really transform it into more of an arts and entertainment district. One of our early success opportunities is that we actually have approved our first downtown mixed-use project. It's 70 units with 7,000 square feet of mixed use, and this project was approved in September 2020. The downtown specific plan is what we call a hybrid form-based code. So we really laid out in great detail the design characteristics that we want to see for new development and or revitalizing properties. And this particular developer followed that development of the downtown specific plan and really designed in concert as we took it through the approval process, and then brought his plans in June. And as part of the downtown specific plan, we committed that we would process in 90 days. And the reason we're able to do that in part is because we did all of the CEQA work up front. So as long as you stay in the parameters of our CEQA work, you don't have to do additional CEQA analysis, which saves a lot of time and money. We also have entered into an exclusive negotiating agreement with a downtown master developer called PSDG INDIO LLC. And the areas highlighted in red here, these are all city-owned properties that would be potentially available to that master developer to develop for hotels, mixed use, restaurant, retail, and then other potential uses, including entertainment. So they're looking at the different alternatives. They're doing their preliminary fiscal analysis. An exclusive negotiating agreement is just that. We're negotiating with them right now. This doesn't mean that we've sold any properties to them or that we've done any further deals, but it gives them the chance to have the property, so to speak, tied up while they do their due diligence to determine if they want to move on. It sounds like my time might have run out.
We'll give you like a minute to wrap up.
I will wrap up quickly. We've got more going on in our downtown. College of the Desert is expanding greatly. We're going to have 2 new buildings plus a building, and that's all going to come online, built and open in 2023. We're right now working on a food park, which will be an outdoor food park, and that's going to actually launch in downtown INDIO at the end of this month. And then because we have an opportunity zone in our that covers part of our downtown, that has really started to attract a lot of interest from developers who want to take advantage of the tax benefits that are offered by the opportunity zone. And then real quickly, we have a lot of commercial development. Here are some examples. In the upper left-hand corner is Citrus Plaza 2. This is going to be a high-end commercial development in Southwest INDIO. Right below that is an early image from the revitalization of the INDIO Fashion Mall, now called INDIO Marketplace. And there's going to be a lot more news to come on that, announcing their plans. And then the 2 other images are from the Shawnee Group. The one on the top on the right hand is the first revitalization project for the INDIO Boulevard corridor, and it's a mid-century modern themed development. And the one on the bottom is actually the development of a Shawnee-owned property on Golf Center Parkway. And what's notable about this is it's going to be also their new headquarters site, and they're planning to build it out with multiple retail buildings, a hotel, and offices. And then very quickly, we have a lot of other things going on. One of the bigger news you probably all heard about is we have Vallarta supermarkets that open in our community. TKB is also going to be open in mid-2021 with their new building, and we have a bunch of other commercial development. And then I'll end it by saying that we also are working right now with auto dealers for 2 additional auto dealerships in our community that we anticipate will come online sometime in 2022. And then with that, I'll stop. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. And next, we welcome Danny Castro with the design. He's the Design and Development Director for the City of La Quinta. Welcome, Danny.
Thank you, Amy. I also have a PowerPoint, so let me just get that Great. So thanks for having me. I'm always excited to talk about La Quinta, and I'll just get right into it. In terms of our residential development this year in La Quinta, we've had 185 new permits issued for new residential development. And also remodels and additions were about 125. We're actually up about 28%, almost a third from where we were last year, same time last year. So even with this pandemic, you know, construction and development activity continued in La Quinta. Here is really just a tally of our active residential development in La Quinta, and those are the numbers of kind of active permits that were issued this year, and there's a listing of the names of development that has occurred throughout La Quinta. In terms of commercial development, we've had a lot of development that where there's infill or going into existing tenant spaces, as well as some new ground up construction. Floor and decor went into our former Sam's Club, and that was a building that sat vacant for a while, and we really wanted so they're up and running. We have Torakichi Ramen, Highway 111, Starbucks, which was a former bank building that had a drive-through, and so Starbucks was able to re-outfit that and come right into that space. Pyology came in. Tequila's is a new restaurant that is in our Old Town, and actually, you know, well received, and we're happy about that. And then coming soon, we have a grocery outlet, which is actually going into our former Ralph's building on Washington and Tampico. That was vacant for several years, and they're going to be coming in. A Dutch Brothers on Jefferson Street, which is going to be a new building. I think they're nearly done, another drive-through facility. And then Tampico Starbucks is a new ground up. We do have a Starbucks there on Tampico and Washington, and that's where the former Ralph's is. So that'll really invigorate, I think, that commercial center there. And then the Residence Inn Marriott, which is on Highway 111, and it's a 108-room hotel. They should be done by the end of the year. It's a 4-story hotel. Height is something that's sort of new for La Quinta on Highway 111, but we did encourage and invite that to come in. Pavilion Palms is a project, it's a commercial center project that will have a pavilion shopping center, and that's at the northwest corner of Jefferson in Avenue 50. It's 125,000 shopping center pavilions with 12 pads for various commercial, retail, and restaurant uses. A gas service station. Interestingly, this has been in public hearings for at least over a year with the city. It's been met with a lot of opposition, and you know, this has been a vacant site that actually has been always slated for commercial development. There was an entitlement several years ago, and I think when the residential development occurred around it, I think you know, there's just concerns about traffic and other factors of noise and light and all of that. And I think it's just interesting that, you know, this has always been a commercial site, and, you know, these kinds of concerns. And I think, you know, as planners, you know, we deal with this as we grow. You know, there's the sense of, well, we don't want change, you know? And so it's just very interesting. The city council is really looking for not just the typical commercial development that we normally see, and really want to enhance the place and to make it more of a place where you can go and enjoy. And so they're really looking at design and urban design, and we hope that their project can pull through. Silver Rock is a resort residential development that is right now mass grading for the site is completing. They are finalizing that, and that will consist of the Montage Hotel and the Pendry Hotel, residential units that are affiliated as well with the hotels, so they will also have vacation rental and work under the Montage and Pendry, shared conference center, a park site, as well as other facilities that are shared and other amenities. Now, the plans are currently under plan check review. It's already entitled. It's just, we anticipate that the construction will begin later next year. But again, just we think that this is a project that will really put La Quinta further on the map in terms of this type of development. Highway 111, like other Coachella Valley cities, we are also focusing on our Highway 111 corridor. It's an important corridor because it represents over 75% of our sales tax in La Quinta. We want to make sure that while retail is changing and people, how they spend their time, you know, with Amazon and all these other technological advances, you know, how do we get people to still continue to come out and enjoy a place and not just go to the Highway 111 corridor in La Quinta, get your stuff and just go home and leave. We want to look at it where we encourage a vibrant and walkable area, activate the public realm, continue to foster the economic growth of the site and help sustain it into the future. So we are looking at reimagining Highway 111 corridor, and we had a visioning exercise over a year ago, and now we're looking at implementing it, and we're going to the next phase where we're taking a demonstration area within our current corridor and try to reimagine it, do some engineering, street designs, landscaping, and really look at how we can incrementally make Highway 111 change. It's a big area, and we know that it'll take time. And when there's opportunities, we'll be there to help encourage developers go in the right direction that we would like to see. Short-term rentals, a really big issue in La Quinta right now. You know, we've always had an active short-term rental program, and historically, that's in many Coachella Valley cities. Vacation rentals have always been here. But what has recently occurred, and especially as the pandemic began sort of right in March when everyone was prohibited, actually, as ordered by the state and the county, to prohibit short-term rentals. A couple months after the pandemic, we then opened them up. And what that resulted in was just an explosion of folks coming out from the cities and staying in La Quinta and throughout the Coachella Valley. With that came a lot of increased complaints. And so what the city has done by order is set a moratorium on issuing any new permits. And while existing permits are still, you can still operate, but we've increased our enforcement and there is a committee, an ad hoc committee that was appointed by the city council. There are members, 15 members that range from property owners, property managers, short-term rental hosts, people against it, people for it. Quite exciting committee meetings that we have. And anyway, they're focusing on compliance and enforcement, you know, looking at stricter regulations and penalties, perhaps even looking at over-concentration and density issues, which could limit, you know, going into the future, the number of short-term rentals and maybe perhaps avoiding the clustering of them in particular neighborhoods. And then also just education and outreach, because I think the objective really is to preserve the residential quality of life, but while still allowing property owners to host properties. And so we hope to achieve that type of balance. It's going to be a big challenge, but we think we can do that. Horizon, we do have Travertine, which is a project that would entail 1,200 new residential units. It's actually a project that was doubled when it was titled several years ago. So they've actually reduced that in half. And then 100 key hotel, residential resort hotel. The Wave at Coral Mountain, it's a 15-acre wave pool with 600 residential units and a resort. These two projects that I just mentioned are still under the environmental review and will go through the entitlement review process by next year. Jefferson Apartments is a 40-unit apartment unit on Jefferson, south of Westward Ho, north of Highway 111. It's a residential product, multifamily, that we don't see as often, and we think it's a good thing. Kevin Snyder and INDIO mentioned, the housing element. Well, this is a type of diverse housing element of housing that we think is necessary, and so we'll be looking at that and entitling that in the near future. And then Signature PGA West, that is currently, there are units being developed, and there's 106 remaining units to complete that project. Finally, we do have an interactive project map on our city's website, and what it allows is for anyone to go onto the city's website, and if you were interested in any projects or wanted to know what our development activity is, you can go on this website. They'll have maps and graphs throughout the city. It's intended to, it's going to be a real-time update every time you go into this to see what our current active projects are. Again, my name is Danny Castro, and I'm the Design and Development Director. There's my email info, and Sherry Flores is our Planning Manager. So if you have any questions, we are available to answer any questions. So thank you.
Thank you, Danny. And next up, we welcome Ryan Stendel. Ryan is the Director of Community Development for the City of Palm Desert. Welcome, Ryan.
Thank you, Amy. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm going to take a slightly different approach in using what we all use on a pretty daily basis and fly around Google Maps to go over what's going on in Palm Desert. Thank you to the CDAR for providing us planners with a nice outline. We generally like to follow orders, so I'll go in order. Justin sent it to us. So on the housing side, and if everybody can follow my mouse slightly, Ponderosa Homes is currently developing 111 single-family homes labeled under the name of Sage. They're in their current kind of first phases, but I understand sales are strong. Most of our development, as you're going to notice, is going to be out in the North Sphere, generally around Portola and Cook Street, where the largest kind of remaining open lands are in the city. Across Portola to the east, GHA has been developing Genesis Palm Desert for the last couple of years, which was a development of 166 single-family homes. There was a variety of product types in here as a part of a specific plan that leaves a small commercial development, regional park and housing project to the east, and some higher density residential as you get closer to Cal State, San Bernardino, Palm Desert campus. In the same vicinity, we also have BlackRock has been working actively on development of approximately 1,100 single-family homes, multifamily, and condos, all kind of in a general, pretty much all of this land is occupied within that plan. And I have a couple, this is a layout of how the UNSP, University Neighborhood Specific Plan, lays out that BlackRock's working on. They intend to begin grading any time. They're working on some complicating factors from a previous, an existing CFD that just layers on a lot of financial complexity to the project. So they're actively working with staff on getting going, and we look forward to seeing that as well. We also are working on Palm Desert Country Club. This will be the first of our kind in Palm Desert. The executive course of the Palm Desert Country Club has been fallow for about 7 years, and the developers are working on a plan to redevelop that. And I'll fly over there real quick. Let's see, where am I? All right, now I'm back. So here we go. You can see the fallow 3 parcels that will be redeveloped with 69 condominiums. And this will be a very low density project from an acreage perspective. However, as you can imagine, this is right in the backyard of the residents of Palm Desert Country Club. And it's going to be an interesting transformation. And we're working actively with each property owner that's affected and construction should probably be starting within the next 90 days. On the commercial side, out at Cook and I-10, we're seeing the development of two very exciting things. First is the La Quinta Brewing Company in Palm Desert, which happens to be right next door to the DMV. So schedule your DMV appointment and either go to La Quinta Brewery either before or after, depending on your choice. Right next to that is also a Holiday Inn. We're seeing a fair amount of development on the freeway adjacent hotels, and this is another hotel that's going to be going up just to the south of the DMV, approximately right next to the Fairfield Inn, just on the other side of the roadway there. And on the wave pool front, because every city has to have a wave pool in production, the city of Palm Desert has approved Desert Surf some time ago, which is a development that can accommodate up to 300 hotel rooms and an additional 88 condos that flank the wave pool. The water body for this proposed development is only approximately 5 acres with 2 distinct surfing zones. And the development team is in active communications with the city and are off trying to raise their own capital. I think a lot of us have seen many of these styles of developments proposed across the valley. We'll see if one or all come to production, but this is the development that's been proposed in Palm Desert. Lastly, I want to spend a little bit of time on our short-term rental policies. I'll bring up these vicinity maps. The city of Palm Desert's housing portfolio is largely open to short-term rentals. Approximately 75% of our residential zone properties exist within gated communities, planned developments, or communities that have homeowners associations that can manage short-term rentals kind of irrespective of the city. In 2017, the city took action to remove short-term rentals from our R1, R2 zones. That's our basic single-family zones that are generally speaking south of Fred Waring. There was a small irregularity in our zoning code that we've known about that affects 3 to 4 main areas. Hoveley Lane West is one of them. Shepherd Lane out just west of Portola, and Deep Canyon, east of Deep Canyon, west of Palm Desert High School are examples of areas in the city that are zoned, planned residential, however, do not have governing HOAs that can manage short-term rentals. So the city council seems poised to add those areas to the restricted short-term rental areas. However, if you are working with short-term rental clients, the Desert Sun continues to portray a lot of our cities as kind of closed to short-term rentals. And if you look at the numbers, that's absolutely inaccurate. The large majority of our housing stock is open to short-term rentals, and many of those HOAs are welcoming them. A lot of the golf course communities we hear from say they're actually helping keep golfers on the course, people in the clubhouse. Many of the gated communities like them. And guess what? If you've got an HOA and you don't want them, you guys, as a homeowners association, get to make that call. So I think this is happening just about every city across the valley in one way or another, across the country and actually kind of across the world. A lot of us are seeing news daily of cities taking action. And I think our council seems to want to continue finding balance. That balance comes with, we do allow them in a lot of our zones and not in all of them though. And our enforcement penalties for non-permitted use is extreme at a $5,000 penalty. And during COVID, as Danny and some of our my other peers have mentioned, we've been issuing a lot of citations for non-permitted use. It's not our favorite activity, but we are charged with implementing the will of the city council. So if you have any questions, short-term rental related, everybody at the CDR knows how to get a hold of us. We'd love to talk to you on the phone about it. Myself or Kevin are in the throes of the short-term rentals on a daily basis. So let us know if you have any questions or want to verify a specific house before you're taking some sort of action on it. With that, I think I left some time on the table. You guys are welcome, and be happy to answer any questions when we get to the Q&A part.
Thank you, Ryan. Great, thank you. We're now going to welcome Flynn Fagg, and he is the Development Services Director for the City of Palm Springs. Welcome.
Thank you, Amy, and
Thank you.
be here with you all this afternoon. Let me go ahead and get started talking about the City of Palm Springs as the others are doing. I'll start first with residential development, talk a little bit about commercial development, and then end up with everyone's favorite topic, vacation rentals. Starting off with residential development, on the north end of town, we have the Maryland development, which is over 300 acres. 1/3 of the site is going to remain as open space with olive groves and passive recreation and trails throughout the open space. And so it's really going to be a wonderful community. They've just recently started to put the finishing touches on their amenity center, which is the centerpiece of the community. They'll have 2 swimming pools, exercise room, event space, dog parks, a community kitchen, and other features there. The landscaping is going in right now, and again, it's just an absolutely beautiful community center and focus of the development. In terms of the residential developers there, Woodbridge Pacific has their Flair community with a total of 44 homes in phase 1. The residences are 2,000 to 2,700 square feet with pricing starting in the mid 600,000s. The other builder that's active there at Maryland right now is Christopher Homes out of Newport Beach. They have their Aura community with 70 homes, slightly smaller, about 1,800 to 2,200 square feet, also starting in the mid 600,000s. There's a third builder at Maryland, Gallery Homes. All of their plans have been approved. They are in the process of getting their building permits, and so we expect them to break ground shortly as well. Smaller development by a private developer on North Indian Canyon, a very beautiful 17-unit townhouse complex designed by Fenton Booth of Booth Hanson Architects out of Chicago. Again, the modern detailing of the complex is absolutely beautiful. They've got 15 2-bedroom units, 2 3-bedroom units, all with den, and they are grouped around a community swimming pool. These have not gone on the market yet. We expect them to go on the market in the next couple of weeks. We just finished the final inspections yesterday on those. And again, just a beautiful complex there. Moving to Central Palm Springs, just off of Tahquitz Canyon at Hermosa, we have Enclave at Baristo by GHA Companies. There's a total of 30 units in the development. They vary between 2,200 square feet to 2,500 square feet. Phase 1 of the project is already sold out. They're just starting construction on phase 2. Those units start at 0.1 million, so it's not an inexpensive project, but sales are going very well. Toll Brothers has a project in South Palm Springs that's currently under construction, the Cody Place development. It will feature 80 single-family and townhouse units. They're starting work on the townhouse units first. The model complex is under construction. We expect that to be finished in December, so they should be able to open that shortly. They have their community center complete at the centerpiece of the complex, and pricing on those starts at about $700,000 and goes up from there. Right across the street from Cody Place on South Palm Canyon is the Elon development by Far West Industries. They've just started work on the utilities and the site work there. It will have a total of 25 condominium units, which will be in 2-story buildings along Palm Canyon, and then 56 single-family units, which will be on the western portion of the site. They don't have pricing for this project yet. We've got a number of projects that are in the process of closing out. 64 at the Riv, just behind the Riviera Hotel by PS Modern Homes. I believe they've just sold their last unit. Icon on North Palm Canyon, also by Far West Industries. I believe they're selling their last model unit and are closing that project out. And then the Vibe project, which is right near City Hall and has both GHA and Woodbridge Pacific. GHA has about 7 units left. Woodbridge Pacific has about 3 units left. So that has really been selling well and is here ready to close out within the next week or two. Moving on to commercial development, I'll talk a little bit about our hotel sector. The Parker Hotel recently received approval to expand. They have a 3-acre parcel at the rear of their site. They'll be building 32 new hotel suites with an amenity space, amenity building. They've already gone through the process of getting their building permits. We're ready to issue those. And so we do expect construction to start here shortly. Another hotel project that we have under construction is called the Bode Hotel, which is on South Indian Canyon at Baristo. This will feature a total of 30 units. However, the units will be between 2 and 4 bedrooms each, all with a complete kitchen. And so this is an alternative to a vacation rental. They broke ground for the project in February. They're just completing their site work now. They did get slowed down by the pandemic, but we expect them to go vertical here shortly. Former Riviera Hotel is in the process of rebranding. It's going to the Margaritaville Resort. They also received approval earlier this year to develop a portion of the existing units as timeshare units. So buildings 4 and 5 of the complex will become timeshare units. And again, rebranded to Margaritaville. They are expecting to open their doors on November the 13th. Since wave pools are the focus today, we have the former Wet and Wild site, which will be rebranded as the Palm Springs Surf Club. They've already begun demolition of some of the slides. They still will retain some of the slides that are there. They are essentially doubling the size of the wave pool, and they've just installed new wave equipment to allow surfing in the pool. The surfing settings will be everything from beginner to professional. And if you go onto YouTube, you can see some of the professional surfers who've been invited to test the wave equipment there at the pool. They're just beginning on the second phase of their financing. The complex will include new restaurant amenities. They'll rebuild the Lazy River complex. And so we expect them to be finished with this by summer of 2021. Starbucks is doubling down in the city of Palm Springs. They've just received approval for 2 new Starbucks locations. One on North Sunrise Way in the Albertson Shopping Center. And then on East Ramon, the site of the former Office Depot building, which will be demolished. That will house a new Starbucks location, as well as Raising Cane's. So we have chicken coming to the city of Palm Springs. And the anticipation for that is just unbelievable. I didn't know so many people were excited about Raising Cane's, but that's good to see there. Finally, vacation rentals in the city of Palm Springs. While there's been much talk about vacation rental regulations and concerns about vacation rentals, City Council has not begun any discussion of changes to our current program. As of June 2020, we had 2,028 vacation rentals in the city of Palm Springs. On the city's website, we maintain reports on violations of our ordinance, noise issues, etc. So you can go to the city's website to see the activity relative to vacation rentals. A couple of years ago, we did raise our vacation rental registration fee to basically fund our enforcement program. And so we do have a relatively well-developed enforcement program, which is available throughout the weekend So neighbors are able to call in complaints. We do investigate those and issue violations as necessary. So again, no changes to our program as of yet. And so that is vacation rentals in the city of Palm Springs. With that, that concludes my presentation. Again, thank you for having us here today. Always happy to share information on what's going on in each of our communities. So thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Flynn. And next we welcome Stone James. Stone James is the Economic Development Director for the City of Cathedral City. Yes, we hear you. Thank you.
I'm buying you coffee. I appreciate that. So let's see here. So let's see if we can't go ahead and share the screen, because I've got a little presentation here for you. And so understanding the time, I absolutely promise this won't take more than 30 or 40 minutes. No, we're going to be brief, actually. And so we're going to talk about some of the residential projects that are going on within our city. Here is a brief list, and then we'll talk about some of the very interesting commercial projects that are very much having a hand in changing the fabric of the community, and certainly for the better. And then we'll talk ever so briefly about the short-term vacation rentals. And so many agents likely know that D.R. Horton continues to do very, very well up in North Cathedral City in the Verano project. And so it's pretty interesting. They actually just came in last week with 2 different house plans. And so that tells me they're really paying attention to the buying market and responding to that. So not only are they going to have 2 new house plans, they've taken a 3rd house plan that they're currently in production on, and they're changing that. So that's pretty neat. I actually just met with the VP last week, and they are excited about continuing their work up there. So if you've got any clients, I know they're doing co-brokes. So GHA always does incredible product. And so here is the District East. And so he just pulled 5 more permits 2 weeks ago. And so that is something that is nearing closeout. So if any of your members have clients, I would definitely suggest going over there. Apparently, one of the neat things about this project is the fact that the people can just easily walk right over to Starbucks, some of the different restaurants, of course, Target. Everyone loves Target. So anyway, very neat development. They've done amazing things there. So here is actually a community that was very interesting, and I bring this out. He may have 1 or 2 homes left to sell, but this was a project, this was an infill project. And so these lots have been sitting here vacant for, well, ever since the city was incorporated. And he went in and he purchased, I think that the total count ended up being about 28 homes. And he was selling homes at the conclusion of this for about $525,000 per home, which is absolutely remarkable given the location that these homes were in. These are right off of Date Palm, right above the former Walmart building, right behind Sonic. I think everyone knows where Sonic is. And so anyway, been doing really interesting things there. And then also here is the Rio del Sol project. This is a project that has been left over from the market crash. It's about 177 lots. And we just issued the permits to the Rylington Group last week. And so they pulled, I think it's 25. So their first phase is going to be 25. That's probably going to be a couple of different product types. And so they've been working on this for a long time. So I think they're actually planning on starting that construction almost immediately. And so if it's not within the next 2 weeks, it's going to be very soon. And so that is, I think it's going to be an attractive product, and you can see the physical proximity to our downtown, which I'll get to you very shortly. Let's see here, let me keep going. Let me get this computer thing working. Okay, perfect. And then here's something that's interesting. This is Mountain View Estates. So this was a recent entitlement project. That's not something that the Valley has seen as a whole for almost 15 years since the market crash. And so this Mountain Estates is right next to, this is on Ramon Road. There's that giant Suniva building, and there's Date Palm Drive. And so they got approved for about 140 single-family detached homes. It's going to be 1-story and some 2-story. They're going to have a really pretty modern look. And so that's something that we hope to see go vertical maybe within the next, optimistically, 12 to 18 months. And then, of course, everyone knows about the Campanile project. That is a project that has got 3 different product types. You've got a about a 2,000, 2,200 square foot lot. You've got the 500 series, which are about 5,000 square foot lots. And then you've got the 700 series, or the 7,000 square foot lots. And that is likely already under contract with a builder. And so your agents could see some work there within the next 6 to 9 months. That's going to be pretty exciting because everyone knows what those house values have done. In terms of the commercial projects within our downtown, we've got a lot of really interesting things going on. So most notably is the casino. And we anticipate a soft opening on this by Thanksgiving. And so their work has been absolutely amazing. It's amazing what developers can accomplish when they don't have to, go through the city, the bureaucratic city processes. They have been blowing and going on this at an absolutely record pace. And they are on track for that soft opening for, like I mentioned, Thanksgiving. And this is going to be pretty interesting. I was recently working with them on another project, and they explained that they as a tribe have 90,000 mailers a month that they put in physical mail to their clientele. That doesn't include any online or social media or anything like that, but 90,000 physical mailers per month. So that's going to have a very interesting impact on our downtown. Up towards the middle top of the screen, you see that white building with the nice slanted roof. That is a $8.2 million fire station that actually opened on the 24th. And so that's going to be really neat because that's going to allow the fire station that is on Day Palm, that is about 55 years old, that is going to be demolished within weeks. And now we've got our fire department with their new facility that will serve the community for the next 50 years. So that is pretty exciting. And then also this area that you see here is really our downtown arts and entertainment district. And that has become an incredible selling feature for the city. And here is the latest addition to that downtown arts and entertainment district. This is a $5.1 million amphitheater that was finished, perfect time, in June. So it is completely unused. We're actually augmenting this with another about $200,000 in additional AV equipment. But this is going to be fabulous. It's going to hold about 2,950 people, pre-COVID. And then here you've got the parking structure. So we've got this just excellent solution with the parking. And this is right across the street from the CV Repertory Theater, which has 208 seats. And then also, of course, within walking distance from our Mary Pickford Movie Theater, which coincidentally, if you're all environmentally conscious, that is the only theater in the United States that is 100% solar. They have several football fields of solar panels on the roof. They have battery backups. And so that is probably the only place that you can get solar powered popcorn. And so that they just did about a $2 million renovation there. And so with the casino, with the amphitheater, with Mary Pickford, with the CV Repertory Theater, that's why we refer to it as the Downtown Arts and Entertainment District. In terms of other commercial developments, this is pretty exciting. The Desert Lexus dealership, they just completed this $22 million project. And so this is absolutely amazing. And it does a wonderful job of showcasing the Lexus cars. And what's also interesting is we've got here, there's the Desert Lexus. This is going to allow an expansion of the Toyota of the Desert. They currently operate in this building along with Honda. And they are going to be extending operations into the former Desert Lexus building. And so why I really mention that is because that really helps with the city revenues. And obviously, as everyone knows, the more city revenues you've got, the better services, the police, the fire. In fact, actually, that's one of the things that's interesting about Cathedral City, like Palm Springs, is we have our own police and our own fire department. And all of our firefighters are paramedics. And so you've really got a high level of care right when your clients need it. And then also with the police department, like Palm Springs, some of these gentlemen or ladies spend their entire career in the city, and they really get to know the fabric of the community. And so I believe, being a reserve deputy for LA County Sheriff, I think that is a wonderful selling feature for our city. Then also here is one thing that's just fantastic is the College of the Desert is going to be opening up an advanced transportation and logistics campus right in our auto center. And so it's going to provide great training, and that is going to be another catalyst for our community. In terms of infrastructure, we've recently completed a couple of bridges, most notably over Date Palm. And here is something that if you've driven on Cat Canyon, you could not help but notice the fact that this bridge is now under construction. And so hopefully by the 2022, when we have floods every year, we are not going to have to shut down that area. And let's see, short-term vacation rentals, something we all know and love. I'm trying to deliver this quickly because I know everyone's time is valuable. And so, like Palm Desert, we also welcome the STVRs. They are going to have to be within the HOAs where those STVRs are permitted. There is a provision for home share. Right now, there is a challenge to the, or is potentially going to be a challenge to the recently enacted STVR prohibition, outside of HOAs. And so right now that's putting home share on pause because there is a possibility that this is going to be taken to March's ballot, much like what occurred in Palm. So that's what we've got on with, that's what we've got going on with STVRs. So if anyone has any questions, I've tried to deliver this as quickly as possible.
Thank you, Stone. So now we'll go back to our Q&A, and let me go into the chat. I think, Ryan, this would probably be addressed to you. It's, can someone address the new sports center that's supposed to be built next to the Classic Club on Varner? And they mentioned that it doesn't look like anything's been started.
Sure, I'll share what I know, and Stone may also know a little bit because this area happens to be, strangely enough, in Cathedral City's sphere of influence. But I've been in contact with the Berger Foundation, who has been working with a development team that was formerly vested in Palm Springs. There's not much to report other than any assertion that, construction is going to start quickly is probably unlikely. They have to go through their entire environmental review process and approval with the County of Riverside, because that currently is in the County of Riverside's jurisdiction. So I think it's, hey, it might be likely. The way I understand the deal is being crafted is going to be a long-term land lease from Berger to the development team. And whether they can pull this off probably lies with a lot of our wave parks that we presented today. So I don't know if anybody else knows any more about that. That's what I've heard on the street as of today.
Perfect. And Ryan, it was asked and you had typed it in, but if you can just mention the Chick-fil-A to everybody,
so
please.
In Palm Springs, it's Raising Cane's. In Palm Desert, it's Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A is approved, and through the city's process, it's all on their side of the table. It's going to be at Monterey and Dinah Shore, that last vacant parcel on the northeast corner as you're approaching I-10. It's part of a master planned development that includes Chick-fil-A, the Valley's #1 requested fast food joint. So they're pulling their grading plans, or they've pulled their grading plans. They're ready to roll, and you'll see construction starting very quickly.
Okay, and Stone,
Yes.
we're gonna.
So thank you. So I am working with that same developer within our downtown arts and entertainment district to develop a 13.5 acre mixed use. And so Ryan, yeah, they are completely excited. I think they could be breaking ground this month because I know that I talk to them constantly and did my best to try to get a Chick-fil-A in our city too. But Ryan is absolutely correct. They, Fountainhead Development, great group of folks. They are looking forward to making that a reality.
Thank you. Louis, this question is for you. And Gretchen Gutierrez asks, if the November 18th meeting for the Indian Wells General Plan update, if that's going to be in person or is that going to be a Zoom meeting?
That's a good question. That is actually going to be a virtual meeting due to we're pandemic, but if they're interested in attending, you can reach out to me. I can provide you with the link to the Zoom meeting. It's going to be between 1 and 3 in the afternoon. So.
Okay, perfect. Anybody else have any other questions? If you could please just type them into our chat and I'll go ahead and gladly ask one of our panelists. No, we do not have currently on this meeting a representative for the city of Rancho Mirage. And Jillian Willis is asking, what's the projected date for the Pendry build out?
Yeah, so I think I can answer that. Can't give you a definite date. I just know that overall that they are working towards getting their building permits, and we hope to be going up vertical with both the Pendry and the Montage Hotel. I'm going to say by mid-year next year that they'll begin construction.
Great. Does anyone have an update on the CV link that you can share?
Well, each one of our cities probably has a different update, but Palm Desert's section has begun. Ours is a little bit different than other cities where it's kind of an on-street pathway, but if any of the construction you're seeing around College of the Desert and Palm Desert, Magnesia Falls, and over to Palm Desert High School on the east, that's CV Link's construction beginning in Palm Desert.
Perfect. And Ryan, would this be you for the new tower market that's being built? It's on Frank Sinatra and Monterey. Do you know of an opening date?
That also is the second most asked question of me lately, and that actually would be for your Rancho Mirage planner who's not on the call, but it's strange the way the city boundary works right there. That's Rancho Mirage.
Okay, got it. Great questions. Anybody else?
Amy, my guess is, this is Stone James, my guess is that's going to be open within probably less than half this time, but within 30 days.
Yeah.
Okay.
If they're open like in a week, that wouldn't surprise me.
Great. Thank you, Stone. Absolutely. And Scott Newton is asking if there are any plans for a hotel around the new casino in Cathedral City. So Stone, this would be for you.
Thank you, Scott. So we are working on that. There are a couple of locations, and it's a tough time to try to build a hotel, quite candidly. Maybe I need to start talking to Flynn because he's clearly got it down. But with COVID-19, the capital for new hotel construction has largely evaporated. But we are looking at, there are really 3 sites within our downtown. And so I am actively working on trying to recruit a hotel developer for one of those sites.
Got it. And panelists, with all the new developments that are going on, with all the new developments right now, any public benefits incorporated into the entitlement? And this question comes from Brendan Rome, and he's using an example: affordable housing, art encumbrance, community space requirements, etc.
I think for all of us, yes, in a way that's different for each community. Each city council approves their own kind of developer impact fees. And I see a question that can come in from Gretchen Gutierrez earlier, who keeps an eye on all of us with that process through the Desert Valley Builders Association. In our city, we absolutely take fees for just about all of those categories.
Yeah, Mike, I could just add to that even in La Quinta, when we began our Highway 111 visioning, a lot of our projects now, we're looking at community amenities, pedestrian connectivity, especially like CV Link, because it runs along the backside of our Highway 111 corridor. We want to make sure that it can be connected. There's connections, there's plazas, there's parks and open spaces. So we're gonna be looking at that whenever we look at any future developments, that they incorporate those things.
Flynn, we have the following 2 questions.
I saw those too.
Yeah, you have
First,
2, and the COD
yeah.
campus in Palm Springs and Marilyn Monroe statue. Is she really coming back to Palm Springs?
Yeah. So starting first with College of the Desert, they are doing their campus planning right now. We don't have a start date for construction yet, so that will follow once they have the campus plan complete. The Maryland statue is on our city council agenda for next Thursday. They are looking at a possible location on Museum Way in our downtown project. So again, that will be on the city council agenda for next Thursday on November the 12th. So stay tuned.
Great. And it looks like we'll be concluding our meeting. So thank you, panelists, so much for being a part of this today. Thank you to everybody that joined us, and thank you, Cedar and White together. Have a great day.